I'm here today at Island Lake Recreational area to do some routine block training. I think that having a healthy balance of both cycling, running, kayaking, hiking, and any kind of upper body cross training you can do is just something that's going to help you in the long run, whether you're trying to do long distance backpacking or run ultra marathons. You just have to keep up with training. So what I like to do, once a month I come out and I'll do a metric century or 100K on my road bike, and then I'll run either a 10K or a half marathon here at the Hickory Ridge Loop, which is a really nice hiking trail. And you know, other than that, I usually come out here and put in at least 30 or so miles on the bike routinely, and either hike or run the 5-mile loop out here. And then if I'm feeling up to it, I've got my inflatable kayak in the back of my car, and I'll pump that up, hop out onto the lake, and pass under the little viaduct over into Kent Lake. And there's some little islands over there, so I like to kind of just paddle around them and stop at some of them. You can get out and hop in the water, cool yourself off. It seems to be a pretty good routine for me. So anyways, let's get to it. So this is the nutrition I'll be bringing with me today on my 62-mile bike ride, or 100K. I've got the GU Roctane, which I really like because it's full of amino acids. Helps replenish your sodium, and it has caffeine in it. Obviously I'm a big caffeine and coffee lover, so I also have this regular GU that has actually more caffeine in it than the Roctane. So, you know, probably every 20 miles I'll take one of those. And then if I get hungry, I like to just have a backup on me, even if I don't end up eating them. These are both great options for me. Not a huge fan of Cliff Bars. I know a lot of people eat those on the trail. To me, they're way too tough, and they burn my throat going down. So Fig Bars all the way. And then I really like these Nature Valley Packed Sustained Energy. They come in blueberry and cranberry with peanut butter. And the nutritional facts on these are pretty good if you're going to be out really putting in some work. Let's get a focus here. Yeah, 230 calories, saturated fat in it than I would like, but there's no cholesterol, and most of those fats are coming from the peanut butter and nuts that are in this bar. You know, kind of a decent amount of sugar, but you know, being that you're going to be out on the trail putting in some work, going to be doing quite a bit of climbing today, having that extra sugar in my system is going to help. A decent amount of protein. So yeah, pretty good option for nutrients. And then in this water bottle, I have Noon energy tabs, which help again replenish sodium. Safety first. It is a perfect day out to be doing this. Degrees, sunny, and a little bit of wind, which I'm not mad about. Alright, I'm at the 31-mile mark, or 50K mark, so I'm stopping to take a breather, stretch, and have a little nutrition before I get back out on the bike. All right, there we have it. 62.66. That was a little tougher than usual. So I'm glad that's over. I honestly should have expected that to be tough. This is actually my first time out on the bike in 3 weeks. My wife and I were at Cuyahoga Valley National Park 3 weeks ago, and we were riding through kind of a shaded area through the forest, and we ended up slipping on a wooden bridge, and we both went down pretty fast. Unfortunately, wife fell pretty hard, and she ended up fracturing her hip and her pelvis. I was not as unfortunate. I'm actually lucky to be able to get out on my bike right now, and I feel terrible for her because she was supposed to have an Ironman, her first Ironman, the Michigan 70.3, here in like a couple weeks. Obviously, she's not going to be able to do that. The only wheels she's able to ride right now is a wheelchair. And she's on a long road to recovery, about 6 to 8 weeks. We're only 3 weeks down, so make sure to send her some love. Well, I'm going to do some stretches and chow down on a bunch of food that I brought with me before I change into my running clothes and try and hammer out this 10K. So since I knew I'd be using a lot of energy and sweat out on my bike ride today, I brought my running vest with me for the 10K. This running vest is the Ultra Aspire. I'm not sure exactly what the model is these days anymore. It just says Ultra Aspire. So there are definitely some things I don't like about this vest. It is a name brand vest, but there are several things that I'm not a huge fan of. The first thing is that the hydration hose comes out the middle at the top, which I'm not sure why they designed it like that. The best possible way for a hydration hose to be routed, in my opinion, is through the shoulder strap, and neither side has a hole to route the hydration hose through and over your shoulder. So what ends up happening is when you're running, this hose is always kind of touching your neck or your shoulder, rubbing against it ever so slightly. And when you're running 31 to 62 miles, let's say some chafing occurs. So that's something I would have liked to seen differently about this. The other thing I don't like is the way this chest strap closes. It has these hard metal clips that you stretch into these little elastic loops over. And they tend to dig into your chest and your stomach. Or at least that's my experience with it. Other than that, it's pretty decent. It came with 2 flasks. They were the most terrible flasks I've ever used in my life. They were just like super thin, super cheap plastic, and if you tip them upside down, even when they're closed, there's going to be water leaking out of them. So when you're running, a lot of times you'd have droplets of water splashing out. If you put a fizzy drink in there, like a Noon tablet or whatever kind of electrolyte you like to use, usually it'd end up rocketing out at you while you're running. So if you end up going with this model, highly suggest getting different flasks. I won't be using the flasks today because I'm only doing 10K, and I've already got 1.5 liters of water in here because I'm going to be trying to hydrate as much as I can on the trail since I've been out for so long today. I did, however, bring this hand flask with me today, and so one thing that I've learned, because something's popular among other athletes and enthusiasts, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be great for you. And that was the case when I purchased an amphipod. An amphipod is very similar to this, but I found the design to be not very ergonomic. I didn't like the way my thumb came out of the little loophole at the top. And the other thing I didn't like about the amphipod is instead of having any sort of pocket you could put stuff in, it just has these 3 tiny elastic loops that you're supposed to put gels in. The thing is, and I'll show you an example here, all of my running pants have built-in gel pockets. These are my Brooks running shorts, my favorite running shorts. But they all have these little gel pockets, and even my shorts that don't have the gel pockets on the side there, they all have a pocket on the back with a zip where you can easily store a credit card, an ID, a gel, and your key. So it's completely not necessary to have those loops on the amphipod because I already have plenty of spaces I can put gels. This, on the other hand, fits my phone with my bulky Nagabe case on it and a pop socket, and it fits perfectly. So it's not like loosely jiggling around in there, just like, I mean, it's in there, but not too tight, not loose either. One last thing I want to touch on before I get ready for this run is when you're out cycling, it always pays to be prepared. I saw a gentleman out on the side of the road today while I was riding, and he was pulled off to the side with his bike upside down and his front wheel off. So I slowed down and I asked him, I said, "Hey, you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, just got a flat." So I kept going. But doing Island Lake, I was doing a couple laps to try and build up mileage. And on my way back, he was still there and had somebody else there helping him. So I felt kind of bad. Maybe I should have hung out longer, like got off my bike. But I know when somebody says that they're all right, they probably don't want some random guy getting off and just like standing there trying to offer them help. But he was there long enough that I noticed that he wasn't very prepared. He didn't have a spare tube, probably didn't have an inflator. If you're going to be going out doing any amount of cycling, and I don't care if you're on a beach cruiser, I don't care if you're on a time trial bike, always take your spare parts with you. You want to have a spare tube, tire levers, a CO2 inflator or some kind of small pump, and probably a couple Allen keys in case you need to make adjustments on your seat or whatnot. Anything could happen out there, and it's always good to be prepared. A lot of people like to stuff all that stuff in their jersey pockets. I like to reserve my jersey pockets for my phone, credit cards, and all my snacks that I bring with me. Instead, I have something that a lot of people make fun of. I use a seat tube pack, or a seat post pack. And inside of this, I've got my tire levers, a spare tube, a CO2 cartridge, and a CO2 inflator. And oftentimes if I'm going on a longer distance, I'll put a second spare tube in my jersey pocket just in case, because I've had 2 flats in one ride before, and it's not fun to have to call for a pickup. My GoPro's been giving me trouble today. Every time I turn it on, it'll record for like 30 seconds, and then it beeps, and then says SD card error. So, I don't know, I guess I'm going to have to save up and get a new GoPro or some other kind of small digital camera I can bring with me for stuff like this. So for the run, unfortunately, I wanted to have my GoPro either strapped to my chest or on my head so that, I could kind of take you along for the run. I'm not going to be able to do that, so what I'm probably going to do is just stop at like my favorite areas on the trail and get my phone out and like kind of look around so you can see what it's like. Guess what I didn't forget today. Alright, here's where the trail starts, so I'm gonna tuck my phone away and get this run started. For a little 5-mile loop that's only a half hour away from my house, the scenery here is pretty decent. Yep, already liking this much better than the amphipod. I had to turn back around and look at this. I am definitely gonna have to come back and try cross-country skiing this in the winter. That is a sport I picked up just a couple of years ago and have absolutely fallen in love with it. Though the last couple of winters we really haven't had that much snow. So went to Boyne last winter, and because I knew that I didn't have a lot of opportunity to go out and ski, I ended up skiing like 26 miles in one day. I did all the paths that were available there, and it was absolutely awesome. So we're going back to Boyne this year, and I'll definitely do a little recording this time. That way I can share my adventure with you. So going counterclockwise on this trail from the furthest parking lot / picnic area past the main beach and Island Lake, you come to this intersection here at this particular marker, which doesn't really have a number or letter on it. you would normally turn right. I take this spur trail because it takes you to a really great view of the lake, and it's not a very well-known lake. There's never anyone swimming in it, never seen anyone fishing in it. Although the path does get kind of gnarly past this way, and it would be like Tick Village. It's just tall grasses. But this is the view I'm after. You come up here on this hill, and you have this great view of the lake. So I'll usually stop up here for a minute and just take in the scenery. You know, obviously this isn't Grand Tetons or Yosemite, but if you're in southeast Michigan, this is about as good as it gets. So right here is one of the shortcuts for the trail. If you were not having a good time, you could take C, and this would not slingshot you around Trout Lake, which is where I'm headed. So just going straight will take you to Trout Lake. Going this way will bypass it and cut off like 2-ish miles. I'm stopping more than I intended to, but how could I not show you guys this? I mean, this is literally like 2 miles out in the woods. This is another one of my favorite areas on this loop. It's getting close to Trout Lake, and you have all these wild juniper bushes growing everywhere. It smells really nice. It's just a really pretty spot. I was hoping with the cooler temperatures that the mosquitoes wouldn't be as bad as they were last week when I was out backpacking the Waterloo Pinckney Trail. But yeah, they're out in force today. And every time I stop, they are all over me. So once you're most of the way around Trout Lake, you'll come to this marker. So I'm going clockwise, and the fork will look like this. If you weren't paying attention, you'd probably keep going straight, and what you would end up doing is going around Trout Lake again. What you want to do is turn left this way. But as you can see on this trail, there are a couple shortcut options that'll take you back to your car faster. If you hurt yourself or you're just not feeling the whole trail. So just over mile 4, you get popped out at the main beach area on Island Lake. Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to miss. You just come out to this completely open area with the beach. From here, you just follow the beach all the way around. And eventually, you'll see some hammock poles sticking out of the ground. Just keep going and just follow the curve. And then eventually, you'll see another post that has the trail map. And you just hop on it, and it kind of takes you to the right a little bit, and then starts curving through the woods and following the lake the rest of the way back until you're in the parking area. It is a really nice lake, and I do a lot of kayaking here. At the edge of the beach is one of the places I usually launch my kayak from, if not from the boat launch area in Kensington Metro Park. But oh yeah, one thing I wanted to show you too while I'm walking. There's this white line spray painted into the ground. You can just follow this, and this will keep you on the trail. So because the Hickory Ridge Loop is only 5 miles, I took the trail left after I popped back out, and I'm taking the path under the overpass into Island Lake for a half mile before turning around and then heading back to my car. But I suppose you can see why I enjoy training here. It's a beautiful place. Well, that's a wrap. 100K bike ride, 10K run out on the trail. Pretty solid day. I'm not always doing crazy long distance stuff, and what works for one person might not work for you. But I mean, I get some sense of accomplishment out of pushing myself to my physical limits and my mental limits. It's not what I'm always doing, but you know, usually once or twice a year I do something really big, and then once a month I try to get out and do something smaller, like a 100K bike ride or half marathon I've been trying to do every month, just to kind of keep myself trained. And that way when I go out and do the smaller things, or even if I get stuck doing a longer hike, or you know, going out on a 100-mile bike ride, it's not going to kill me. So that's the major thing. You just got to keep getting out there and keep your body moving. You know, I want to be that 90-year-old person that's still out, like, climbing mountains and stuff. You know, I don't want to ever hear the words, "I'm getting too old for this," come out of my mouth. And I think a lot of people who say, "I'm getting too old for this," what's happened is maybe they were active at some point in their life, but they slowed down or they took a break, something came up with their family, you know, any number of reasons, and they had to take time off. And when you sit for a while and then go back out and try and do the things that you were used to doing, your body's not used to it anymore, and you get injured. That's what happened to me this year. You know, last year was one of my best years athletically. I ran about 2,000 miles and put about 5,000 miles on my bike. But this year, I took a little bit of a break to work on some art and to do other things that I enjoy doing, like hiking and backpacking. And I found that I wasn't doing my shorter runs that I typically do. And instead, I was just doing my, like, once or twice a month half marathon. Well, I ended up getting a stress fracture in my left leg from being stupid and doing that. So it really just pays to get out there and be consistent. Even if you're just going for like a mile walk every day or every other day, you just got to keep moving. That's the most important thing. Anyways, that's all the wisdom I have for right now. It's getting late. Wife is going to be home from work soon, so I'm going to try and beat her there. That way I can get dinner ready for her. It's a really tough time for her right now, being on crutches. She can't really make dinner because she's using her hands to hold the crutches in place. So, yeah, she's super great to me. So I want to do everything that I can to be great to her back. So I'm going to get home and get dinner started for us. But anyways, see you in the next one. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, feel free to subscribe. Vegetarian black bean burger breakfast nachos for dinner. It's the best I could come up with today.
So really exciting that you